Welcome to the world of ability. My name is Sue Roskoff. We are here every Saturday and we are going to have some fun today. I'm excited to get to know our guest that we have joining us. I'm going to go ahead and bring her in right away because we've been chit-chatting a little bit and I'm already clicking with her. I love this. It's always fun to get to have some new friends on here. So Peggy McCartha is joining us. I'm going to have her come on in and say hello and so glad to have you joining us here today. Can you go ahead and share a little bit about who you are and what you do? I would love to like I said, we've been chit-chatting already in the background. I'm already excited. So welcome,
Well,
Peggy.
first of all, thanks for having me. I love to talk. So, this is podcasts are great places for me because I can talk.
Perfect.
Um, my name's Peggy McCartha. I am physically located in Los Angeles, California, but I do work virtually a lot. So I'm global. I am a certified professional photographer. I've been doing that for over 37 years. The
Awesome.
last 10 years, I was really focusing on headshots and really understanding the psychology of what makes images pop, why images can be impactful. And the reason it's important is because we live in a digital driven world and our branding images, our headshots, our profile pictures, those are often the very first impression that people get of us. What they see of us online is the first impression. So making that really important first impression is vital. But about 5 years ago, I started working with photographers and then quickly turned to just business people, a lot of creatives, but helping them run businesses that thrive and actually make money because a lot of us passion-driven businesses, we don't like the business part of businessing. So, that part sometimes gets neglected, and we have this thought that if I'm the best photographer, if I'm the best whatever, fill in the blank, whatever you do, then people would just magically come to me and pay me, and that's not how business works. So, I try to take the businessing part and take the sting out and let it be authentic and real, and also something that's sustainable that you can continue to do and grow your business and thrive. So I work on a platform called Go Brunch, and I have a community called the Global Business Plaza. And right now we have about 30 businesses from all around the globe, and we help each other really turn visibility into opportunity and opportunity into money. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
I love that. There's so many pieces of that. I'm like, okay, so first of all, photography. I love photography. For years, I've been like, I should take a class because I really enjoy the getting to get that perfect picture, right?
Mhm.
Getting the image that you want to be able to look back at later and capture it. I have so much respect for people who can make that happen because it's not easy. If anybody can just snap a picture, right? But to really have that picture there's a difference and to know how and oh I we're in a water ski club. We have some friends who are very good photographers who've come out and taken some amazing pictures and I can't do that. Right. There's You have to know what to do to make that be a thing that you can share and show and it's not a blur off in the distance, right?
Right, right.
So
Yeah, and photography is such a big thing. Like, yeah, I'm a portrait photographer. People are my thing. And years ago, I had a friend that did landscapes and was like in National Geographic and all these
oh,
big publications. And I lived in a gorgeous part of the country at that time. I lived in northern Arizona, and he came out and. I've taken pictures of Monument Valley hundreds of times, and he could stand right next to me, and you see my picture and you're like, oh, that's pretty, and you see his picture and you start crying with emotion. So there's different gifts and talents, sports, people, all the different things, so that's fun.
and so you said your specialty then is more of the portrait side and like headshots and that type of thing.
Yeah, for 27 years, I was a high-end portrait photographer, families, babies, kids, weddings, events, high school seniors. And then the last 10 years, I've been mainly focusing on headshots because people consume pictures different than they used to. Everybody has a camera in their hand, and everybody's uncle is a professional photographer these days. So,
Self-proclaimed, yes.
yeah, so I was like, well, either I'm going to have to get a job at In-N-Out Burger flipping burgers, or I'm going to have to figure out how to continue to make money at this craft that I'm passionate about. So, headshots was, I live in LA, so it was kind of a no-brainer. Actors need headshots, business people need headshots, and they'll still pay money for that. So, that's kind of where I went down, turned directions a bit. But when you do something for 37 years, you have to pivot once in a while.
Okay, valuable lesson right there. You can't just keep doing the same, and expect it's going to continue to thrive. You need to actually get your feel of what's happening in the industry and work with what you have, right? We're kind of saying
Exactly.
that a little bit earlier too, that sometimes you got to work with what's in front of you, work with what you've got, and you've got that skill, you've got the talent, you can see what's needed, and it sounds like you found a good niche in what you can do and what you're good at that is still a very valued piece that people need.
Exactly. And also, photography is a full body sport. I don't know if you understand how active photography is, especially if you're doing weddings and events. Like, I've been known to crawl on top of tables and balance on backs of chairs and, all sorts of crazy stuff to get the shot. And I have a medical condition where mobility is a concern. And so I kind of needed to figure out how I could continue to do what I love and still physically keep up with that. So, another reason that headshots were because you don't have to do cartwheels to get somebody to smile when you're doing their headshot, like you do a 2-year-old.
Oh,
So,
definite difference.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay, well, and I know you've got a new dog in the house, and so it just made me, when you said 2-year-old, my head flipped to what about pet photography? Is that's got to be a whole different kind of challenge, though.
That is a whole different gift. I do take pictures of my dog, but would I consider myself a pet photographer? No, because I see pet photographers and I'm like, how did you get that shot? Our baby just turned 1 last week, so I did take her into the studio and we did a whole photo shoot and they were cute, but they were not phenomenal. Like they're not going to get, they're not going to go viral on TikTok or anything, but I'm going to love them.
You- Oh, you say going viral on TikTok. I know so I've got a 16-year-old daughter, and I know there's even with photography with her, she's introduced me to the whole, the point five and all, there's different ways to make pictures be the thing these days that go viral. I'm learning from her, which is that's a different experience as well. Like mom doesn't know how to do this stuff anymore. This is not how. There's a whole nother world going on of what the generation now likes to see and how things speak to them. Are you
Exactly.
experiencing that as well with what you're
Well,
seeing?
my husband and I watch TV. Okay, so our youngest is 20, almost 21, and we're watching TV and a commercial comes on, and I look at him and I go, "This is what happens when people Lev's age get jobs in marketing. Like this commercial is insane. This doesn't even make sense. Like, why are we watching this?" And I can guarantee because I know what Lev watches on TikTok. I'm like, this is Gen Z's fault right here. And so that's the game we play now when we're watching commercials. We're like Gen X, millennials, okay, Gen Z. Like, if
You
you
can see
can
it.
see, if you just you can see what's going on. And I mentioned that, and Lev says, "No, those are the millennials trying to reach us. We think it's dumb too." And I was like, "Oh, ouch." So, yeah, you can.
Perspective.
Yes, exactly. So, anyway, yeah.
Excellent. Oh,
Our
so
kids range from 33 to 20. So yeah, so we we have all the perspectives.
mhm.
Um,
Excellent. And well, I know you said one at least is in kind of in the Milwaukee area now where we are. So
yes,
uh
our oldest is.
the oldest, oh, very nice. So is job related then that brought them to the Midwest?
Their baby's mom is from Milwaukee, so
Ah,
they or
got it.
parents are from Milwaukee, so they moved back up there to be closer to family.
Very nice. Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually, I grew up in northern Wisconsin. My husband's been kind of in the Milwaukee area pretty much his whole life. Uh, and we do water skiing. So that's one of our fun things is water ski shows all summer. And yesterday, just got to share real quick because it's a topic that's pertinent because it happened yesterday. We do a lot of adaptive water skiing, and that's where we use a sit ski. So folks that are not necessarily uh, going to enjoy stand-up skiing as much, we have a sit-down ski available. And we took I think we ended up with the head count somewhere around in the 30-ish realm yesterday. So we got to do a
Wow.
whole bunch of skiing and I got to celebrate being on the water and it was a gorgeous day. It was a little windy, but it was not too windy. It was just windy enough to keep some do I dare say some of the yahoos off of the water. So we had the water for the most part to ourselves. There was a few out there, but they saw what we were doing and were really good about giving us space to be able to do the water skiing that we did yesterday. And so that's one of our favorite things in the summer is that. But that so I always got to ask then if have you ever done any water skiing or is that a thing that I don't know if in California there is very much.
Yeah, there is. But I didn't grow up in California. I actually grew up in northern Kansas, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh,
Um, literally, literally, if you take the map and fold it in half, that's where that's where I grew up. And but so there's lakes, and my nephews had boats and water skied and so forth. I've been on boats while other people were water skiing, but I've never been a water skier.
well, if you're ever around and want to change that, we can help.
Okay,
We
all
always love
right.
that. Sometimes it's fun to learn with people who actually have taught others how to ski. We've got the friend that we have nearby that we do the adaptive with. He is by far the best teacher I've ever met. So it takes an extra talent to be able to explain how to move your body in a way to make it
Yeah,
easier.
yeah,
And he's a good driver. So it's one of those, the combo of you got to have somebody who knows how to teach and knows how to drive it so that success happens. And I tell you,
exactly. There you go.
he's he's the guy.
He's a
So
guy.
yeah. So
Well, yeah. Well, if nothing else, maybe I'll go sit on the boat and watch you teach my husband how to water ski.
oh, excellent.
See, I just threw him out to the water. So throw him out there.
Well, it's all good. It's one
That's
of those
fun.
rare, we always say too, it's one of those rare sports that truly is like all ages of the family. Because we're on a water ski team. We put on ski shows all summer and we've got the littlest of kids out there. And it wasn't that long ago, we had a gentleman in his 90s that was still skiing with
Oh,
us
wow. That's
and
fun.
everybody in between. So it's kind of a fun, different sport where you really are interacting with all age ranges. And we're talking about, Gen
A
Z
family sport for real. Yeah.
yes, it is. And getting the kids comfortable talking to somebody else's grandparents that, we've got the whole range out there. And so we've come to love the life lessons that come with that, where there really is a chance to interact with all ages and for a purpose of something that we all enjoy. So it's kind of fun that way. But so I always like just mentioning about the adaptive skiing that we have because at least for around here, it's something that is we're lucky to say is a popular thing right now, and there's a couple more opportunities yet. We have a state water ski tournament going on in July, and we'll have adaptive skiing. We'll go up there on Friday, July 18th, and we'll be adaptive skiing at noon on that Friday, and then back down here again. We got 2 days in August one that is at the same location in Burlington on August 22nd, and then in Pewaukee with our ski team on the very next day on August 23rd. So for anybody who's local and hearing that, mark your calendars, come and join us. It's always, even if it's to be a cheering section on shore, by all means, we need that too. So lots of fun.
That sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun.
So, well, now you said you have a business networking group that you also have. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I'm curious because I don't think it's one that I've heard of till now.
Well, it's a little bit more than a networking group. Networking is
Okay.
one piece of it. Have you, there's a platform. It's called Go Brunch. It's basically, I actually went to Go Brunch because I left Zoom because I don't like Zoom. And a year ago, last August, they changed their policies where they were like, you no longer own your IP. Anything you know, say on Zoom, we own and we can sell to AI. And I was like, or I could just leave. I could just stop paying you. So I did that. And I did that without a plan, which sometimes is a gift of mine. I sometimes jump out on my, you know, my what I don't know what you would call it. Like I don't know. I jump out on my morals without like a net. It's like,
Figure a
no, you
way.
will not. And then I'm like, oh, I've got a workshop in a couple of weeks. I wonder how I'm going to do that. And so I had found a couple of video platforms and they were terrible. And I was like, man, I just made a public, you know, I left Zoom very publicly. I can't go back. No, what am I going to do? That's one of my gifts, by the way. As you get to know me, you will be like, I know what she's talking about.
But you found a way to make it work.
I
Sometimes that's
did.
what it takes.
I stumbled, which I normally do, which is also a gift, right? But I stumbled across this platform called Go Brunch. And I was like, well, let me check this out. And I was like, oh, wow, this is way amazing. So as a photographer, you can create your background and your, you know, so you're actually like in a atmosphere. And so I had my workshop, my business coach was losing her mind. She was like, you cannot do a workshop on a brand new platform that you've never used before. And I was like, well, I don't have Zoom anymore. So what am I supposed to do? And so 36 people showed up for this workshop. And you know how Zoom is, like the last 10 minutes, people are just disappearing. They're just popping off, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I had no plan. Like, I assumed that when the workshop was over, I would go on about my day. And the workshop's over, and 36 people were still there. And they
Um,
started talking and they started discussing what we discussed in the workshop. They started asking about the platform. And I was like, what is happening? Um,
wow. That's awesome.
yeah, I was like, what is happening? So I was like super excited about it and also like thrown off a bit. I was like, you know, so I you know, we talked and you know, we were and then I had an actual client in the studio. So I was like, well, you guys can stay if you want, but I have to go. Because with Go Brunch, you don't have to have somebody in the room like you do with Zoom. So I shut it down and you know left whoever was there to talk if they wanted. I went in a couple hours I came back and I was like, I'm gonna go see if anybody left anything in the chat, you know? And I opened it
Mhm.
up and five people were still in there talking and they had decided to become each other's accountability partners. Like they were like applying the stuff that I
Oh,
was teaching in the workshop. And I walked in and I was like, what?
how cool. I love that.
And so I kind of chatted with him for, you know, a few more minutes. And then I had a meeting I had to go to. So I was like, all right, well, you know, and I left and I came back and I kid you not, three people were still there. Three people stayed in my room for 5 hours from
Wow.
the time the workshop started until they finally left. And they probably would have left earlier, but I popped in. And so then we all started talking again. Um,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, this isn't a Zoom replacement. That's not what this is. This is a place you can build community. This is a place that encourages engagement.
Mhm.
And I was on Facebook, I was on Circle, and, doing everything I could to get people to engage. Because when you have a community, it's typical to have the 5 people that post and maybe another 3 or 4 people that like and comment, and everybody else, you're like, are you even here?
Yeah.
And so I felt like all I was doing was trying to get people to engage. And I went over there and people were just engaging. And it was mind-blowing to me because I had spent like a year. Time Benders is my community for helping businesses,
I
creative
love that
businesses.
name.
And so I'm gonna tell you where the name came from, and then I'll come back to my story if you don't mind, like
Sure.
sidetracks. Okay, are we good if we just like go off random stories? Because
Yes.
okay, so when I was a portrait photographer, in the mid 2000s, that's kind of when everybody got a camera in their phone and
Mhm.
DSLR cameras became affordable, and everyone's uncle became a professional photographer with no training. They bought a camera last week and now they're charging what I'm charging for anyway. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so I was trying to figure out, because when I would say, people say, what do you do? And I'd say, I'm a photographer. Every time people, oh, my uncle does that, or my brother, or and I'm like, oh, but I actually like went to school for this and have like experience, but. And so
Mhm.
I started, when people would ask me what I would do, I started saying, oh, I sell time travel.
Oh, I love this. Okay, yes.
And then I would just stop talking. And they would be like, what? And I go, oh,
Uh-huh.
I capture your most important memories and allow you to travel back in time anytime you want to visit them. And I do that through photography. Oh, and then they wanted to talk to me. They weren't telling me that their brother was a photographer or their uncle was a photographer. Then they wanted to talk to me. And so that's where Time Benders came from. Because originally Time Benders was a community just for photographers. I made it for photographers. And all of a sudden I have an attorney in there. I have an accountant in there. I have like, and I'm like, I didn't invite you guys. And I honestly didn't think I had anything for them, but it turns out that a lot of people struggle with business. It's not just photographers. It's a lot of people that are passionate about what they do because they're not just there for capitalism. I mean, obviously they need to pay their bills, but they actually love what they're doing and they want to make a business out of it. So that's where Time Benders came from. That's the story.
Love that. And that's brilliant. Really, that is a way to change the all it takes is that looking at it different. It's like, yep, this is still photography, but if you look at it like, oh my gosh, I love it. So go ahead and continue your story. That actually just like
Okay.
made my mind go, oh, how can I do that from what I'm doing? So
Exactly,
that's
exactly.
brilliant.
Because it really matters how you introduce yourself
It
because
does.
you know, people may be doing the same type of thing that you're doing, but that doesn't mean they're your competition. It just
Hmm.
means they're doing something similar to you, but they don't have your personality. They don't have your secret sauce. They don't do it the way you do it. So how can you express what you do in a way that makes everybody forget about everybody else and what they're doing and focus on what asking you what you do. And I think that's an important thing to be able to do is get
Hmm.
people's attention there. Anyway, back to the Go Brunch. So it turns out, because I've spent my entire life listening to people tell me what they want in their images and me creating them, that I'm really good at creating Go Brunch rooms. And because I've studied the psychology of images and what draws people in and what emotions they feel, those are all things that I can build into a room or a Go Brunch space. And then what widgets should we put in? What call to action buttons? What videos? What will help? And if you would have told me when I went into this that I would be, helping people do that, I would have been like, that's insane. But that just kind of I was building really cool things, and people are like, "How are you doing this? Will you build this for me?" And I was like, "Sure." how about this dollar amount? And people weren't hesitating. And I was like, interesting. I wouldn't pay me to do that, but okay, let's go. Because that's the thing. Usually our gifts are the things that we take for granted, that we think it's so easy to us that, why would anybody pay for that? But because it's our gift and not their gift, it is valuable to them. So I started, building these really cool rooms for people. And then there's all these, I got to know these business people and like, I mean, the range of business people that are on Go Brunch. I mean, from
Mhm.
coaches to people were doing, hypnosis and like therapy and everything in these rooms. I was like, I never thought of, people selling stuff, e-commerce sales and like all these different range of things. And I was getting to get to know all of these businesses because I'm working with them, building their rooms. And then I'm watching them and they're not using their rooms. They're not making money. And I'm thinking, these people are brilliant. Why aren't they making money? Which kind of circles back to my time vendors thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like helping businesses make money. And I was like, how can I help people see, what these businesses are doing? So I created an expo. And this last expo we just did last month that you guys were this close to making it to, but you were too busy with life to hang out with me. So whatever. Um, next time.
Next time.
Um, But we had like 64 exhibitors and a little over 400 people that came through.
Wow.
And I was like, this is, a way that I can spotlight these businesses and they can, gather leads and start. Well, what happened was it turned into a beautiful networking event. And I was like, that's nice, but that's not what I wanted it to be. But you know how you do something and it takes on its own life?
Uh-huh.
That's what happened. It's like, we don't care what you think, Peggy. Just keep doing this and we're gonna. But it's this really cool place for inspiration, encouragement. People meet their best friends, people meet their colleagues, like people meet, collaboration partners. Like it's a wonderful experience, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. It is not the first
Yes.
thing I have created that did not turn out the way I wanted it to. Imagine that. So I was like racking my brains. How can I change this? How can I change this to make it? And I woke up at 3 in the morning, as I do. Um, I've always done that, but now I'm a woman of a certain age, so it's sweet if I ever sleep past 3:30 in the morning. But my brain does, normally solve all of the world's problems in the middle of the night. So I woke up at 3 o'clock and I was like, no, don't change it. It's perfect. And it really is. It's like, don't change the expo. The expo is perfect. Create something new. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I soft launched the Global Business Plaza. And it's the Expo Plus. It's a searchable directory so that we can take advantage of search engine optimization so people can search and find you. It has, if you're a member, we have workshops, we have business tools, we have like all of the things that I taught in Time Benders kind of like secretly incorporated into into the plaza to help people, with the things. We do get shit done sessions every month, which is
Oh,
you
that's
come in and we do it. We do it. We don't talk about it. It's not a workshop. Like, download that app. We're going to learn how to use that app. Or bring all your papers. We're doing our profit and loss statement today. Come in. We're setting up our automated calendars today. And so, it's like you come and you actually do it. We have workshops. We have networking groups. We do every week we do in-house networking. We call it Around the Plaza Happy Hour, where we go to each other's businesses and we check it out and we give our feedback, like what we think would make it better or what we didn't understand. Because when you're building something, you're right here, and
hmm
you often don't see the people that don't know the whole story. You forget that core piece that but no one else knows. So you get that feedback and we get to know each other on a deeper level because we get to really hear what they're doing. And it allows us to know who we should refer them to just naturally. Like there's no, you have to refer so many people or you get points or whatever, or you get docked. It's just, it's naturally happens because you end up falling in love with these people and you're like, you are such a genius. My friend needs your service. And, so it's just kind of a natural thing. And then we do big networking once a month. Well, I call it once a month, but we're global. So we meet in the afternoon, my time, I'm Pacific time, the afternoon of the first Thursday of the month. And the following Wednesday, we meet in the morning so that our folks in Australia can be awake and our folks in the UK can be awake. So, we have the one big networking that we do over 2 days. But we do
Perfect.
different themes every month. We have a different networking theme that we do. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun and just the amount of amazing business people that I've had the opportunity to work with. It's awesome.
Amazing. So, and it's basically been a word of mouth thing then. So people that have been coming are telling people about it and they're starting to come in. Is that kind of how this has been growing?
Well, that and obviously through the expo.
Hmm.
And then we do a lot of things for, search engine optimization, really working that the directory so that we're actually bringing, organic people into your profile, so that when they're searching, they're coming in and finding you. GoBrunch is awesome, but you can't just like, you couldn't have somebody find your Zoom room. You can't have, there's no way for people to type in and find your Go Brunch business. So
Hmm.
that directory kind of bridges that where your Go Brunch business is directly linked to that, but it's also in a directory that we work really hard to, make sure that we've got as much eyes on that as possible. So, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've gotten familiar actually with Go Brunch in the last, I gotta think, year plus here, because we've been networking with the Happy Neighborhood Project for
Oh
years.
yeah. Edwin.
Yes. Do you know Edward?
Yes, of course.
Okay, tell me more.
How can you not know somebody that comes into the room with that big of a smile and that much positivity?
Exactly. Yeah, I think actually Kurt met him with, oh, it would have been shortly after the whole COVID piece
Oh,
happened.
yeah.
Everyone's flipping and doing the online networking, and it used to always be through Zoom like this. And he ended up switching over to Go Brunch a little over a year ago. And so
Yeah. And he's
it's a
up
good.
in Northern California. He's up in
Mhm.
Northern California. Yep.
So have you met him in person?
No, and my daughter lives in Oakland. Our daughter lives in Oakland, and every time I go up there, I'm like, I should track him down. And then, it's busy because we're doing, and then I get home and I'm like, didn't track him down. I should have tracked him down. Yeah. But yeah, one day we'll meet in person, I'm sure.
Yeah, I keep saying the same thing. He's a little further away.
I'll
But
probably meet you in person before him because I have a grandbaby in Milwaukee. And I'll be honest, like as much as I love my daughter, that grandbaby is, gets us on a plane a lot more often.
such a good magnet. Yes. Awesome. Yeah. So the whole idea with Go Brunch, I've really at first it took me a little bit to kind of get the hang of it, but it's a great platform. So as you're describing it, I've got the advantage of I've been on there, I've seen it, and I get what you're saying that there's a lot of advantages to what it offers.
Well, it's, like I said, I only went there because I left Zoom in a huff, as I do. And and I had no expectations of it being anything other than a platform that I could teach workshops, do webinars, blah blah blah. And it became a community. Within a month, I canceled my Circle subscription. I got off of Facebook. I brought everybody into Go Brunch, and that's the only place where we meet is a Go Brunch. I don't use any other platform at all. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. That's literally the only, like if you want me to, as far as I guess a social. But yeah, I pretty much live in my space. I love it.
Awesome. Well, and so for those that are not familiar with Go Brunch, do you want to just give a little description then of what it's like to be on that platform? Because I know, like I said, I've been on there, so I've got the mental picture
Right.
ready. But those that don't have that, I wonder if that would be worth sharing a little bit.
It would be, and it's like it's a difficult thing to describe. But basically, you can. It's kind of an empty canvas. I mean, they have their templates, but you also have the ability to customize it to you.
Hmm.
So you can create, for instance, my time benders. When you come into time bender space, you come into the lobby, and it looks like a lobby. It looks like a
Oh,
lobby that if I had money, that's the building I would rent. Like that would be where I would put my business, you know?
very cool.
And there's a video, above the reception desk because like, right, you would come up to the reception desk or and there's a video. I have an interactive video there where I welcome people and I have tell people a little bit how to use the platform because I realize that a lot of people popping in are like, where am I and what is this? So I tell people a little bit about how to use a platform. I have a big old navigation button. I'm like, if you're here to meet with me, this will take you to my office. And they can scroll down. I have frequently asked questions, just like you would have a brochure in your lobby. I have a widget that has frequently asked questions. I have testimonials. I have, all these different little things that, if you're just coming there for information, you can get all that. And then you can hit the all rooms and go, oh my gosh, Peggy's like got a problem here. I have so many rooms because it's been proven that adults learn better when they learn one subject in one environment, and so like we have a get shit done room. We have a daily incubator, business incubator. We call it the Momenta Lab. Again, the time travel theme. We have a time warp room. We have like, yeah, I mean, you can
I
either
love
jump
it.
in with me or just roll your eyes, but either way, like the theme is there. And I don't care, like some people like go jump in and go 100% with the theme and other people are like, and I can respect either. I can respect either.
I think it's brilliant. It makes
But
sense to me.
yeah. And but anyway, so we have different rooms that we meet. We have a strategy room. We have, all these different places. And when you're in that room, this is what we're going to do in that room. And people were telling me like, Peggy, we love hanging out here, but you make us work every time we're here. So I made a
Oh,
bar. I made a sky bar. And we're not allowed to talk about work. We talk about our dogs, we talk about our spouses or our significant others, we talk about, the whatever, but we don't talk about work. And I have a swear jar in there. If anybody starts talking about work, they click it and they get my Venmo QR code, and they're highly encouraged and bullied into spitting $5 in the swear jar. So we do keep people accountable on that.
that is so good.
So yeah.
Such
So
great
yeah.
ideas.
So yeah.
And
Yeah.
how long now have you been on Go Brunch? You said that's been a little over a year? Is that
Almost 2 years. In August, it'll be
you?
2 years. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
'cause you've done so much with that. Because even with as much as I've been on Go Brunch, I didn't know it could do all those things. So it's great. I know there's the breakout rooms but the way you've utilized them and put this together, that is such a great example for what can be done. And again, like that thinking outside the box of, oh, here's what I have. I can do you really are taking advantage of a tool and making it what it needs to be to work for for the group that you bring together. I absolutely love what you're doing with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And people, you don't have the Zoom fatigue. You can literally be in there all day and not feel exhausted because you're not, no offense, I love your podcast here, but you're not just in like a sterile, square.
Yeah.
There's things going on. I have butterflies. I have a bee in one of my rooms up in the corner. And it's funny because people will be in that room forever. And then all of a sudden somebody go, there's a bee in here, because your eye will just, catch it.
Sure.
And I have little hidden things in there. I'm neurodivergent. I'm dyslexic. And so sometimes I like to keep myself busy. My brain works really fast. And so I hide little things for people like me to entertain themselves while they're listening because and that I think is why you really feel like you're actually sitting in a room. Like there are people that I like forget that I don't know them in person, that we've never actually met in real life. But I feel that same connection, which, before that, I was on Zoom. I spent the entire pandemic on Zoom like everyone else. And I was doing
Mhm.
conferences and, doing all these things. And so it's not that I didn't utilize this tool before I moved to the other tool. And so those were the things that I didn't expect that were kind of a pleasant surprise. I didn't expect that people would just be relaxed. And, there was a guy in one of my workshops, and I am always turn your cameras on, unmute yourself. We're adults. If you can't figure out how to wait your turn to talk, then, you really have a problem. Like, I'm very much like, I'm not probably going to read the chat. So if you have a question, you should probably say, "Hey, Peggy, what about this?" And so but I don't make anybody, but I always do say, "Hey, please, feel free to turn your cameras on," because I'm a photographer. I do a lot of like, I can tell a lot by watching you, and I like to know if what I'm saying is hitting or if, I'm just off in my weird Peggy land and I need to rope it in a bit. So to me, it helps me. But anyway, I'm like in the middle of this presentation, and there's this all this movement on this one guy's camera, like it's like, and I was kind of like looking, I was like, what is going on there? It's kind of distracting, but I was trying to focus and finish. And at the end of the presentation, he said, "I've been on Zoom meetings and video conferences for 4 years, and this is the first time I've ever turned my camera on. You made me feel so safe and comfortable. I wanted to show up." And I was
Oh,
like, what a compliment. Now,
yes.
partially I am a photographer, and that's literally what I do for a living is I make people feel comfortable in front of a camera. But also, I was not one-on-one working with him. That was not my goal, was to get him to turn on. I didn't know. I didn't care. I didn't, he'd had his, avatar on. Several people did who, I leave the invitation, but I'm not going to pick on you about it. And so when he said that, I was like, that was like the hugest compliment, that I could create a space where somebody felt comfortable, that they wanted to be vulnerable, because really that's when learning happens. That's when relationships are built, is when we're comfortable enough to be vulnerable. And that's exactly what was happening in my Go Brunch rooms, is people felt comfortable. And so, yeah, and it's something that I see over and over and over. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful feeling to be able to do that for someone.
I love it. Really, that you're connecting.
Exactly.
It's time well
Exactly.
spent.
Yeah. And you can tell I'm not hard to connect with. Like,
Yep. So I said
but
some people you
also,
click with right away, and others it's
right.
like hard to read the room. It's hard to
Yeah.
do that. But no, yeah, that's what from the moment you got on here, I felt that way. Like I think you worded it very well, to be able to have that, to have a connection, to be able to be able to be vulnerable in a room like that, to be able to open up. I am actually, believe it or not, with being on these, I always end up, I know I come out appearing very outgoing, and I have that in me, but I'm a natural introvert. It's you're relating. It's a different experience.
I like to be on the backside of the camera. And gosh, my son graduated from high school in 2011, and so it may be 2009, 2008, 2009. He was like, "You need to do a YouTube." And at that time I was a portrait photographer, and I was like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, all businesses are going to need a YouTube channel. You need a YouTube channel." And when I tell you, he bullied me into doing it. And then he would record me and edit it. And it would take us an hour to get a 3 minute clip from me. And I would throw things at him and curse him out. Like I felt so, I hated being in front of the camera, hated it. But you didn't ask for this story, but do you mind?
I'm all in.
Okay. So I had been doing, and when I tell you, my YouTube channel had one video per month, and it was like 3 to 5 minutes. And it was just me telling people how to, how to show up and, how to prepare for a family photo session, how to pick a photographer, just, different things like that. This lady called me and she said, my family's coming to San Diego. We're doing a big family reunion, and I wanted to know if you were available on such and such date. And I was available. And I was known for big groups. That was my one of my specialties is groups, multiples, twins and triplets, and people with disabilities, mentally and physical. And so those were those were my specialties. But for some reason, I did not want to really do this. She told me this, her family dynamics, and I was like, that sounds like a lot of work, and I don't really want to do it. So I quoted her a ridiculously high price. I quoted her a price that I had never said out loud to anyone in my life. Thinking she would be like, okay, well, thank you. I'll let you know. And she's like, okay, so do you need a deposit? Do you want a credit card or what? And I was like,
Ooh.
I guess I can do it for that amount. And so I was like, yeah, I asked for 50% up front. She's like, okay, here's my credit card number.
Oh, wow.
And then later she says, do you know how I found you? And I was like, no, I had just assumed that she'd Googled photographers and found my website. She's like, I've been watching your YouTube channel and you're the only photographer that has a YouTube channel. So I knew you were the best. And I knew we had to book you.
Wow.
And that's when I realized the power of video because obviously now everyone has video out there, but it can't be taken for granted because when you do this content that sometimes makes you feel like, is anybody ever listening? Does it matter what I'm saying? You are setting yourself up as an expert. You are saying, hey, this is a thing I know about, and I want to teach you about it, and I want to help you through this process. And that is key, the way your potential clients view you. So don't ever think that when you're out there doing the videos and doing the TikToks and doing these live, they mean something. And even though you may not know it right away, people are watching and you don't know when that person's going to come and have a deal for you that may change your life. So just a little encouragement to the people that are out there. Like it is true. You're not doing this for nothing. I mean, unless you're out there just really wanting vanity numbers, and then I feel like you're wasting your time. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, and really people, I can imagine they felt like or at least the lady that called you, she felt like she knew you already.
Yeah,
Because she's
exactly.
experienced you, and because I think about, there's a few people on YouTube that I tend to follow them because I like what I hear, and after a while you get that
Feel like you
there's a
know them.
relationship there. I mean, they don't know me, but I
No,
sure know a heck of a lot about them, and that matters,
it does.
already that relationship, even though it's kind of one-sided, it exists. It's real. And I can totally see why she realized that about you, that she's like, you're the one. I need you.
Yeah, and I mean, and then I up my prices all across the board because I was like, oh, wait, people are willing to
Mhm.
pay me this? Who knew that? Okay. But but seriously, and that's a lot of times we don't think about the customer. Like when we're doing content, we don't think about how it's honestly impacting those people that haven't got the opportunity to meet us yet. And we really need to take the time to think about why. I'm all about why. What do I just want? What do you just want? What do you want the outcome to be? That's my whole thing is why are you doing this? Like,
Mhm.
and I think when we take the time to say, hey, I'm doing this podcast because I just want people to see that I have something really valuable that could help them, and then you base everything else you do on that.
Perfect. And it is taking it to what does it mean for the other person? This is not like when we're doing this, I'm not sitting here going, this is all about me. That's not how I'm like, who cares? Who cares about what but if there's information that helps people, it gives people a way to get to know something that they're not familiar with. I mean, on Wednesday nights, we have a radio show we do, and it's Ability MKE Now. So MKE, it's Milwaukee Airport Code. This is Milwaukee based. It really is sharing out and highlighting what people can do and hopefully introducing ideas that maybe they haven't thought of yet. Because the whole idea of ability, I had a friend locally here that as far as I'm concerned, coined the term. I don't know if he did or not, but I'm a tab, temporarily able-bodied. I'm not going to always have necessarily all the capabilities I have right now as I age, as whatever might happen. I don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, 20 years from now. Who knows what my experience is going to be. I'm able to do things now, and that's going to change. That's life. And I love that we are able to share experiences that I've had, that others have had, that kind of open eyes up maybe at times of, oh, yeah, just because I'm not necessarily using a wheelchair now doesn't mean I don't have to think about curb cutouts, or am I going to be able to get to this restaurant and enter that restaurant like my friends are? I have a friend that is a full-time wheelchair user that one woke me up one day and I'm like, well, let's go meet at this one restaurant down by the lake. And he's like, well, hang on, I gotta call and see if I can get in. Like, what do you mean? Oh, yeah, never. Why would I have thought of that? It's not an experience I've had, So just sharing different ideas and different approaches.
And that's the thing that I think, as humans, we all have issues with is thinking about other people's experience.
Hmm.
If it doesn't affect us, that doesn't mean it doesn't affect other people.
Right.
And, for me, I have a hidden disability. If you just saw me, you wouldn't know that I live with chronic pain and that some days I need a cane to walk, and that it's a constant fear if one day I'm going to have even less mobility, that most people that see me, they don't know that. And, and we don't know we don't know what other people are going through, and we don't
Hmm.
know what is easy for them and what is hard for them. And so I think when we come at things from a point of view of what if everybody has a problem with this, how can we make this situation easier? How can we make every situation we do as accessible as possible to everyone? Because for me, I want everyone's point of view. Like, I love diversity. Diversity and inclusion is not a dirty word in my business.
Hmm.
It may be in America, but it is not in my business, because that is how we get the bigger picture. Like, how boring if everybody just has the same experiences as me. How boring if everybody can water ski standing up. Like, isn't it cool
Right.
that some people can't and they still do it? Like, that's pretty exciting. And, so like, really thinking about other people's experience and how we can accommodate them so that we can hang out with them.
Hmm.
I think is, to me, something that as a whole our society needs to focus on more. And so I love this podcast and all the works that you guys are doing. I'm learning about you as you're learning about me. So, but I know about this much, but I'm excited. And also, you're from Milwaukee, and I've been in Milwaukee enough to know that when somebody says they're from Milwaukee, there's a lot of things that come with that. It's like, oh, you're an Aquarius, Peggy. I can see that. Oh, you're from Milwaukee. I can see that.
There's stuff that comes with it. It's just automatically.
I mean, stereotypes are there for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not saying that you put on a Santa Claus suit and drive around on your bicycle in December when it's like below zero. But I'm saying that you live in Milwaukee and you might do that because we
We might know people
experienced
that do
that.
that. We
We
actually
were
are
like,
friends with Santa. Just for the record, if you want to meet him, I've got his phone number. We can introduce you.
we were in Milwaukee in December 9th December 6th, something like that. Anyway, it was the first weekend of December. And it was early in the morning. We were headed to get coffee, and we saw a couple with a child on bicycles, and she was wearing like a Miss Santa Claus suit, like a sexy one.
Nice.
And we were like, granted, we're from California, so we were bundled in like our winter cold, but we were like, that's an odd family. And
Did we
then
see that?
as the day went on, we were like, what is going on? And whole roads were closed. And apparently it's something that you guys do in Milwaukee in the cold.
Gotta say, I have not actually done that, but that's fantastic.
I mean, I was like, that's all you need to know.
That sounds quite wholesome, well, mostly. But I
I
love
mean,
it.
you're riding your bike. I'm sure it was a fundraiser for something, or but it's apparently a yearly thing. And we were quite irritated because we couldn't get anywhere because all the roads were, but we were amused by the fact that everybody were like, so it must be a requirement. If you live in Milwaukee, like when you move in, they send you a notice. They're like, what size do you need? And here's how much money you need to send us. We'll be shipping you your Santa outfit.
Oh,
Um, Pretty sure that that's a requirement to live in Milwaukee.
I absolutely love it. That must be why we're just outside of Milwaukee, so I did not get that letter. Dang
Didn't
it.
get the
Because
letter.
this sounds like fun.
I'm sure that they would let you come join them, but yeah, that cracked me up.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, within the networking community that we have been part of with Happy Neighborhood Project, we actually do know Santa Papa John, and if you have not met him yet, you might want to because he's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You can have a Santa approved business, and he really is tremendous. He's doing a
Is
lot
there
in
a,
the
is there like
community.
a badge? Like, can we put a Santa approved badge? Okay, well, we need to meet then
I
because
I'm so proud that
I could make him a Santa go brunch room. Like you heard that. It's on tape. I just volunteered to make a Santa go brunch room for this guy, for Santa
I
Claus.
love it. Yes,
So
I think he would love that too. He is on TikTok, and I gotta say last I heard he's somewhere over like 90,000 followers on there. He does take time. He talks to families, he talks to kids, he talks to everybody. He's doing a lot of good things for veterans, which is another piece that we do a lot with. It's been a lot of fun, and he's got a heart of gold, as you would
that's
expect Santa to have. He's
as Santa should have.
wonderful.
Of course, you just said he was Santa. We don't have to like say he has a heart of gold. That's implied. It's like Milwaukee Santa Claus suit. It's all implied.
Mhm. And I love that you said you've actually seen the bronze fawns.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that was a thing here
And, and
too.
and we Googled where Laverne and Shirley was shot. So
Ah,
we parked and we walked in front of the apartment and we, skipped and stuff. I mean, because we're weird. And
yeah, as you say that
when
though, I'm
we
like, how have I
tourists
not done that?
when we visit a city, we tourist heavy. Like we took a whole weekend. We're originally from San Diego, and we moved to LA about 9 years ago, and we took a whole weekend. And we just did touristy stuff. We did all the touristy stuff. We went to all the sites. Like this movie was filmed here, and this Pee Wee Herman's house is actually about 10 blocks from where we live. So, anyway.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we know all of these stupid random thoughts. That's one thing you will find out about us.
But that's fun. You find fast ways to connect with people that way. It really is. uh, It's worthwhile. And because, when people come visit, they want to, the things they've heard of are those touristy things.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny that, with us here too, we've done a lot of those things when we've had friends visit us here. Like, okay, now we have an excuse to go do the things
To
that we
go do
should
the
have done,
things.
like what you did.
Yep. We're like, we live here now. We got to know all the spots.
Hmm. Oh my gosh. I do love that. That makes so much sense. And people don't think of that.
I feel, we live in Southern California and we laugh about the sunshine tax, but also we can go to the beach, we can go to Hollywood, we can do all these things in an afternoon. We don't have to take off work and pay airfare and Airbnbs and hotels. We can just walk out of our house, jump in our car, and go do those things. So we do want to make sure that we take advantage of that. But we do that whenever we travel. We always look at all the sites.
I love it. And it actually, and that's something I know you said hop in a plane. I know the last, I don't actually remember the last time I was in a plane. We tend to road trip at places because then you get to really see along the way, which goods and bads that go with road tripping. But I personally think it's a lot of fun to be able to see the different landscapes because there's definitely differences. If you're in Wisconsin versus you're in Texas or Oklahoma, wherever, it's different. And
Yeah.
if you are above it in a plane, you don't always get to
You don't
really
always see it.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I spent the 90s road tripping it. So I've been to almost all of the states. I've been to all the states west of the Mississippi, and I've missed a few of the northern the northeastern states, but I've been to almost all the states. And America is a huge, huge, huge country with lots of different terrain and sites
Mhm.
and people, lots of different,
Yeah.
cultures here amongst us.
Yeah, and that actually that's a fun thing with Milwaukee that there are so many different cultural events that take place because we've got the Summerfest grounds and that's the biggest music festival there is what happens at Summerfest. But those grounds get switched around different times of the year to be German Fest and Irish Fest and I love that they celebrate culture that much and that you get to enjoy the music. The people will come dressed in appropriate attire. I can go and attend Irish Fest, not being Irish. I will be able to enjoy the music, enjoy the food, enjoy all the things, and it's wonderful to be able to celebrate the differences that way. And those that do have that heritage are celebrating because of different reasons, really. And
Right.
I love that it can be that it's there. It's available, and I don't think that kind of thing exists across the country all that much. I've heard, there's obviously pockets of it, but as a unique thing for Milwaukee that is something that's here, I think is so much fun. So
That's,
that'll be something when you come visit. You have to check and see what's going
yep,
on
have to
at
see
the
what's going
Summerfest
on.
grounds.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because I've already told you we're all into doing the touristy stuff. So if something's happening, we're probably going to want to check it out.
And those are definitely
We
worthwhile
have
weekends.
checked out your zoo and we have checked out the
Oh,
children's museum already because we took the baby. So we have checked out those two. And I did grow up in San Diego, so I'm a little bit partial to, or I didn't grow up, but our kids grew up in San Diego, so I'm a little partial to San Diego Zoo, but your zoo's not bad. It was a very fun experience.
excellent. Yeah, it is a good location. I know we've been blessed to be able to do some behind the scenes touring there as well, with some of the positions I've had nearby here. I worked at UW Milwaukee for a while. I currently am at Carroll University, but we actually, when I was at UW Milwaukee, we had a high school program that we would do in the summertime, kind of a camp kind of a thing, that was science based. And one of the things that we got to do was actually go to the zoo and we get I'm still so excited that I got to do some behind the scenes things there. And they would show us truly behind the scenes, some of the things that you wouldn't see as just a patron walking through.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it so
That is
much.
awesome. I like zoos. When we traveled, our kids were small, and whenever we would go, we would always go to the zoo wherever we were staying. So I've been to a lot of zoos around the country because it's a fun place to take your kids. You can walk, they can run, they can experience different, there's always these fun, I'm sure that, oh, here's, you know, fried crickets or something that, something that, your kids can have a little experience while we're traveling. So, you know, but yeah,
Excellent.
yeah,
So, well,
it's fun.
I want to bring it back over again to what you're with the I know you said it's not necessarily the networking is the focus, but if somebody wants to know more about what you're all doing and how to plug in potentially, what kind of people would that be appropriate for and how would they find you? I want to make sure we cover that before I totally lose track here because I'm just enjoying such a lovely conversation with you,
I
Peggy.
I know, and the puppy has not irritated us. Let's bring that up that she I was like, I don't know, I may have a good 45 minutes and then we'll see what happens. But she's been really good. She has gotten up and walked around, but she hasn't bugged us. Um so I think I really work with passion-driven businesses, people that, are talented and maybe they've been in corporate, maybe they haven't. I've never had a corporate job. I've never had a W-2 form. I've been self-employed my entire life. But also, most of the people that come in have left that. They're like, hey, I don't want this. I really am good at whatever it is. I'm good at, sewing. I'm good at teaching. I'm good at coaching. I'm good at whatever. And I want to make that my profession. So a lot of heart-driven, heart-led businesses is really who is kind of drawn to the Global Business Plaza, and or Time Benders. Right now, Time Benders is kind of quietly getting woven in over here. I'm just like doing this. Shh, you're also going to learn this. It will help you. Trust me.
Mhm.
Um,
Love that.
so, um, but yeah, so heart-led business. I say creative businesses, but not necessarily creative because, like I said, I have attorneys. I have a neuro-linguistic. I have I mean, just the vast array of people that a lot of soul-led, people that just are really excited about what they do and they really believe that they have a gift for the world, hey, what I do. And they're tired of being the best kept secret in their industry.
Mhm.
They just they don't need help with their talent. They need help with visibility. They need the opportunity to be seen. They need the opportunity to get the right eyes on them so that they can turn that into revenue and start growing their business and start making a living at it. Because I don't know if you know this, but it's expensive to live here and making money is important. Doing what you love is important, but being able to make money at it is really the sauce.
That's what makes it, we all have to pay the bills somehow.
Got to pay the bill somehow. Yep. And as far as finding me, you can just go to chatwithpeggy.com and that's the easy way to find. It's just a landing page that has all my little links in it. It was funny a while back, I was going through my domain names, because I have a little bit of a problem with buying domain names. And I realized I owned Chat with Peggy, and I was like, how long have I owned this? And why? That is whatever mindset I was in when I bought that domain name, like kudos to me. And also, I did nothing with it for years. And I stumbled upon it. I'm like, I've been paying for this, and it goes nowhere. So I'm happy to say, go to chatwithpeggy.com.
I love that. That is perfect.
It really is. And yeah, and kudos to me for buying it years ago, and stumbling upon it while looking for something else. I went chat with Peggy and I opened it up. I'm like, this isn't even pointed anywhere.
Oh, so now you're making use. I love
So
that. That
now chatwithpeggy.com will get you to me.
perfect. Oh my goodness.
Or you can just be curious and go to the globalbusinessplaza.com, log in, and start snooping around the directory and popping. You can just click on the businesses and pop into their business. Somebody may be there, or you may watch a video, who knows? But you can go snoop around.
So, and with the back end on that, then, so I'm getting the feeling that you're pretty computer savvy and able to create what you've done, or have you partnered up with others to help create some of that back end pieces? Because I know some people get lost in technology and some people love that part.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to break things, and I'm just cocky enough to do things, to try things and break things. And so that's when I normally hire people to come and fix what I broke. Um, but there's actually a guy in the Global Business Plaza, and his specialty is search engine optimization and getting people traffic to their website. And he kept like I was struggling getting the directory set up because, it's a lot in the back end and that is not my specialty. Like build you a room, put all the bells and whistle in it, that I'll do. But doing stuff with search engine optimization and connecting Google Analytics and all that, not so much. But I was struggling through it. And finally, he was asking me these questions, and I was like, do you want me to give you access to the back end? He was like, no, no, no. I just wondered if you'd check this. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't even know what that word means. Like, I'm going to Google it as we're speaking, but I don't know what you're asking me. So not intentionally, no, I have not hooked that up. Is it hooked up? Possibly. Did I know that's what I was doing? Probably not. And so finally, I was like, could you just give me a quote what it would take for you to come in and do this the right way? And so now he is running the directory and getting it all cleaned up. Because the directory I'm using is a very powerful directory to where it's not just bringing people to the directory, but it will bring people straight to your profile. So the work you do benefits you. And then, of course, ultimately benefits everybody because the more people coming to you is also, so yeah, the answer is yes and no. I do not claim to be an expert at that, but I do claim to never be afraid to learn and try and typically break things.
That's how you know it works. I
If I
love
can break it, then then I know its limitations.
and because I hear this in multiple ways that I don't know if you'd word it this way, but kind of pushing the envelope on how to approach things. And but that it works because now you know what it can do. And I'm hearing actually I'm hearing a lot of wonderful things here. This has been such a great conversation because you are someone who can make others feel welcome, make them feel comfortable, and push them from within themselves because like you said you got one of your rooms, get shit done. I like practical and getting people to say, hey, this is what I need right now. And I'm hearing a lot of kind of masterminding with others in how you're approaching it and bringing people in that are willing to help each other out and keep each other accountable. And that's a special thing because that you don't find everywhere.
My dad always told me, like my dad was an entrepreneur, and my dad told me when I was really young. I think there was somebody that he was friends with that was I saw as his competition, and I was like, "Why do you hang out with him?" And my dad said, "Well, he's better at this than I am. At this one particular part of, their business. He's better at that than I am." And I was like, "Well, again, why would you hang out with him?" And he was like, "Never be the smartest person in the room. Always hang out with people smarter than you. They're not your competition. And as long as you're always with people that are smarter than you, you're going to look smarter." And so, I pretty much lived my whole life with like, let's do this together because there are things that I'm really, really good at that you might not be. And there are things that you are good at that I am definitely not good at. And if we can work together, we both grow. And I don't really look at anybody as my competition. I'm human. So there are those people that I secretly side eye, but you would never know it. And I usually do it with humor, and those people usually end up being my best friends, and we usually end up working together. But um, but yeah, I really feel like when we work together, we all rise. It used to drive me nuts because photographers can be some of the most nasty, cutthroat people. I remember one time, this years ago, because I was advertising on Facebook, and somebody had on my advertisement posted basically that they would do the same thing but cheaper and like put their link on my, and I was like, what a dirty, slimy thing to do. But
No.
but I thought about it. I was like, they're hurting themselves. Like what they should have done is ask me, how are you getting people to pay you that much money instead of undercutting my prices?
Mhm.
What they should have done is come up on my level instead of trying to bring people that I was working with down to their level. And I think that we do that consciously or subconsciously when we do things like that. We're instead of instead of working with people and going up, we're trying to like bully them out of our way, and all it's doing is pushing us down. And so I'm a big believer in collaboration, and I'm a big believer in give people credit who deserves credit, and you know, not taking away or stealing or I always respect other people's IP. However, when we work together and it becomes an us and an our, we all grow, and then we can all charge more money. Because if this is industry standard, this is industry standard. And then if anybody else comes in and tries to undercut us, they look like, oh,
Mm.
they probably don't know what they're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and pay over here because these guys know what they're doing. And so I think that that's important when you're running a business, a sustainable business, is to think about that. Think about it from that perspective.
And I don't know how, I think you have to get to a certain point to think that way. Because I don't know that that necessarily comes naturally to a person until they've been beat up a little bit in whatever their industry is and realize that, oh yeah, I growing together makes a difference. We've got a good friend that teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, that's been ingrained in my brain now. And truly that, like you're saying, the whole thing of, when the tide rises, all ships rise, that's a real thing in so much when you talk about whatever industry you're in. Looking at it as competition versus collaboration, total different mindset.
Absolutely. I think that I was really lucky. First of all, my dad planted that foundation. He built that foundation when I was young, and I watched him live his life that way.
Hmm.
My dad is dyslexic. My dad did not learn how to read until I learned how to read. I am also dyslexic, and I didn't start learning how to read until I was 11 years old. And but my dad was a very successful business person, not knowing how to read. And so I watched how he leveraged relationships, not in a give me, but in a, hey, this is what I have to help you. Can you help me here? And
Hmm.
in a really and I watched him do that my whole life. And I watched him learn how to use the way his brain works as an advantage, not a disadvantage. And I was very lucky because even as a child, my dad would say, you just have to learn how to work your brain. You just have to learn, like, the way they're teaching you in school isn't ever going to work for you. You need to figure out how your brain works and how to succeed with the brain that you have. And so I've never looked at that as a disability. I've always looked at it as a superpower. And I can get super arrogant about like how my neurodivergence is way superior to the average normal people, but I try to keep that for close friends and family. Um, but but seriously, and then when I right after high school, I interned with a really successful wedding photographer in Oklahoma, and every Friday, he had breakfast with three other photography businesses, and he started letting me go to these breakfasts with them, and he was like, what he always said to me whenever I would shadow him is like, don't ever talk. Like I was never allowed to talk. Like,
Oh no.
sit there. I look back and
Gosh.
I just I've just idolized him, my whole life. And actually I look back and I was like, he was really abusive. Like he was really a bad person. But also I still idolize him because of all the things that I learned. But he would, and so I would sit there, but I would listen to everything that would go on. And they were the major photography businesses in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the suburban areas. And they would talk about like different problems they were having, different issues they were having with the labs they were using, different clients, like, hey, beware, this client came in and tried to pull this. They might come to you next. And like the thing that I loved was like there was one photography that really specialized in infants, and the others really all hated infants. And so they would be like, "Hey, what's your schedule like in 3 weeks? I've got an infant in. I would love to pass them off to you." And they would literally swap clients.
Awesome.
And so my naive little 18-year-old mind was like, oh my God, this is how business works. Like, this is how my dad works. This is how this works. This is just like, I'm so lucky to like be a photographer. Like, I can't wait to like, no, that was the only time
It's
I
very
ever
unique.
saw that. It's a very unique situation. But I got like, I feel like that is so cool that I got, the foundation with my dad and then the building built with, this, watching it happen in real life. And so it was like very, very lucky, I guess, to have had that foundation. So I've always thought that way. And I've never understood why people wouldn't think that way because that works. And what you're doing with competition and tearing each other down doesn't work. So, but again, I'm dyslexic, so a lot of things I see people do, I think that about.
Taking, so actually I had two thoughts while you were saying that. That same wheelchair using friend that has taught me a lot of lessons. One of his big phrases from forever is look at my ability, not my disability. And if we all could do that more, because sometimes, when you meet somebody, whatever that, and disability might not be the right thing, whatever that quirk, whatever that thing is about that person might stand out more and be like right in front of me, and it's hard to look away from whatever that thing is. But it's like, wait a second. Okay, there is so much here. There's so many things that this person can do, so many talents, so many things that give them a moment, uncover what that all is. Because there's so much, we all have something, we have many things, right? But one question that I've been starting to to use a little bit is asking people, so what is your superpower? And actually,
Mhm.
you just said the word superpower. I'm like, wait a second, she just used the word. Getting to know somebody, it's like really what when you look at all the different things that you do, and I'm loving all this experience you've had. We all have a unique place that we come from, and we all have a different walk, and we can learn from each other in so many ways. When you look at all these things, where does your superpower come from? What is it that you bring to the table that stands out that others don't have?
My superpower is empowering people. I
Hear
can
that.
make you money. Like I am so good at making other people money. Like I am so good at empowering them and showing them um how amazing they are. I'm really good at seeing the beauty that you don't see in yourself. And that started with photography. Like I loved photographing the not pretty people, the unique looks, the quirky looks. Like I would just love that. And then to be able to show them their pictures and show them how amazing they are just as looking at them and shows and then working with businesses, I realized I did the same thing. Like I can see and point out things to you that you take for granted about yourself and you don't realize. Like I can show you your superpower. That's my superpower. And many, many years ago, I was accused of being an enabler. And I thought that was such a terrible word. Like it's so degrading and terrible. And it bothered me for years. And then I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, I just like owned it and I was like, actually, I'm an empowerer and I'm really good at it. I'm really good at helping people become fully who they are and walking fully in their own powers. And it's very easy for me. And I think all of our superpowers are those things that just come natural to us. And a lot of those things, that's why you don't see your superpowers because it's so mundane to you. It's like tying your shoe. Well, everybody can do it. Actually, everybody can't do that thing that you can do. And that's what makes you amazing. And so that's my superpower. I'm an empowerer.
I love that. Because often people don't see the thing that's in them. Because I work at a university and I have the pleasure of working with students. I'm a supervisor to anywhere from 20 to 40 work study students. So they're between, like 18 and 22 age range. And that's a time when you're figuring yourself out, right? You're who am I? Where am I going? Why am I here? All the things. And to see people grow and for them to start figuring out truly what their superpower is. Where are they going in life? And who are you? Who are you going to be? Are you going to be that jerk? Or are you going to be somebody who's looking out for others? Your mom and dad aren't necessarily standing over your shoulder anymore telling you, yeah, you got to do your homework. There's all these things. Who's showing up today? Who are you going to be? And to
Mhm.
be able to help be in that somewhere in that role of being able to help them connect those dots as they are figuring things out. That's a piece that I love. I love being able to see how people grow over that time where that while they're there and having to say goodbye when they are graduating and moving on, And but to be able to see that growth and to connect that way is so much fun. It's so rewarding to be able to be part of that process somewhere along the way. And I hear a lot with what you're saying here that you can see that in other people and help them figure out where they're going. And because I think we often have blind spots. It's kind of what I'm hearing too of I don't necessarily recognize something that comes easily to myself, and people are like that. And to be
Mhm.
able to be someone to point those things out and show the way a little bit, that's huge. That's a blessing to so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes people just need a virtual hug. Like sometimes people just need a
Yes.
pat on the back. Like it's hard. Running a business is hard. And sometimes people just need to know that it's okay that it's hard. You're still doing a great job. And sometimes people just need to be reminded of where how far they've come, because
Mhm.
when you're doing it, it's like climbing a mountain. It looks like, well, we haven't gained any altitude until you turn back and look and you're like, oh wow, I guess I have. And we
Yeah.
don't, because we're so many times when we're starting a business, we're literally in survival mode because we're like, okay, like I've got to make this money, I've got to make this connection, I've got to make this goal, I've got to do this. And it's just, busy, busy, busy. And you don't take the time to go, wow, this is not how I dreamed it, but this is pretty awesome.
Yeah. It
You know?
obstacles you overcome. Actually, I'm known for having all these little cartoon kind of things on the door to our space where the students are. And one of them that's on there is my plan is here's point A and here's point B and it's a straight line. And
Right.
then right underneath it, what it actually looks like is there's a river, you needed to cross a bridge, all the things. And
Yeah.
but that's what builds the character. That's what having those experiences. We all need to have those. Some are awesome, some are not, but that gets you to where you're going. And that's where when you have people around you that can help shorten that distance a bit and can help
Or
point you in
just
the right
point out
direction.
that it's not a bad thing, because like
Yes.
I've had a lot of things in my life that if I were to tell you, you would be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry that that happened to you." Are you though? Because I really like who I am today, and maybe if I hadn't gone through that, maybe I wouldn't be who I am today. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. But all I know for sure is I did go through those things and I really like who I am today. So I guess I can't really regret any of those hurdles and mountains and rivers and rocks and cuts and bruises and casts and black eyes and you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you gotta,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, because to get to where you are, we all go through stuff, and we aren't going to be around long enough to make all the mistakes ourselves, and to be able to say I've done that, I've been there, but also again learning from others so that you can surround yourself with people who are like what you're saying, people that are better than you on whatever that knowledge base is, whatever that thing is. You're going to grow together better, you're going to know more, and surrounding yourself with smart people that's going to make things better faster. such good lessons to learn that, do they teach you that in school? I don't know if we really get taught that in school.
I'm not sure they teach you anything in school, but it's another topic, another podcast topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah. So I'm wondering, take home messages. What things would you like people to know as they have heard? We've had a wonderful conversation. This has flown. I'm looking at the clock like, oh my God,
I
this is
You
amazing.
asked me what you asked me when we came on, you asked me what my time thing was, and I was like, I'm not going to talk to her for 2 hours. Like, are you kidding me? And I was like, look, I glanced at the clock a few minutes ago. I was like, seriously? We're only halfway through, right? I got another 2 hours of me.
It's honestly
Um,
been amazing. I love when
I
you
have so enjoyed chatting with you, Sue, and getting to know you.
having and when you can connect with somebody that easily, that says a lot. I really appreciate your time, and obviously you are really good with being able to connect with people and bring out the best in others. So if you had any take home message that you would like to share, I'm wondering what that might be.
I would say, give yourself a break. Like, you're
Mhm.
awesome. Like, literally, like, go look in the mirror and tell yourself that you are awesome and mean it. Because I guarantee that if I met you, I would say that you are awesome. And, we all have things that we're ashamed of. We all have things that we fail at, but that doesn't identify us as that. You also have a ton of amazing things in you, and the world needs you. Right now, we need you more than any other time. We need your amazingness. We need you to stand up and let your light shine and 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 do the thing that you love to do, and go out there and change the world. Like, I'm always for, like, let's take over the world, folks. Like, meet me at the Go Brunch room. We have, world domination in a good way, world domination planning meetings.
Awesome. And do you want to share when do you get together? How often is it that your groups are meeting?
We have something going on 3 or 4 times a week, because we are global, so we do have lots of different activities that go on. We have co-working, which tends to be, I'll just warn you, we do have focused working, but normally our co-working is more collaborative. We are chatters, as you can tell. Um, but definitely definitely yeah, definitely co-working different things. But yeah, find me at chatwithpeggy.com, and I will give you schedules.
Perfect. And then I highly recommend anybody who's who's listening to this to take that step because like I said, this has been such a lovely conversation. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming here and sharing so much of yourself with us. This some days are easier than others in so many respects, right? And I think people can really learn a lot from you. They can You can bring out those superpowers in others. That is something that truly is a blessing, and I applaud what you've done, and I'm excited to see you more and to be able to connect more as we go forward here because I think there's a lot that I know there's a lot that you offer and can make the world a better place as you already have and will continue to do. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. And again, chatwithpeggy.com
Chatwithpeggy.com, yes.
where you can connect, and
Chatwithpeggy.com.
that is so perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just close things up here because you've been so generous with your time and
Thank you
talent.
so much.
Thank you, Peggy. This has been tremendous. So, with all of us here at the World of Ability podcast,